You've been there, haven't you? Someone says something cruel, someone crosses a line, someone disrespects you in a way that cuts deeper than you thought possible, and your first instinct is to respond, to explain, to defend, to make them understand why they were wrong, to fix it, because somewhere deep inside you've been taught that silence equals weakness, that defending yourself is necessary, that letting things slide means you're letting them win. But here's the truth: silence is power. Staying quiet after being disrespected is not about weakness. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's not about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about reclaiming control over yourself in a world that constantly tries to pull it from you. Every time someone disrespects you, responding impulsively gives them power. The power to influence your emotions, your energy, and even your actions. Staying quiet takes that power back. When you react in anger, frustration, or hurt, you are no longer responding with intention. You are responding with emotion, and emotions are loud, messy, and often temporary. They make you say things you regret, escalate conflicts unnecessarily, or allow someone else to dictate the narrative of the situation. Staying quiet, on the other hand, allows you to step out of their story and remain in your own. It doesn't make you less strong. It makes you stronger than the need to prove a point in the moment. Silence after disrespect is not about submission. It's about strategy. It's about protecting your energy, your dignity, and your mental clarity. It's about recognizing that some battles are not worth fighting, and some people are not worth your explanation. Every time you stay quiet, you are telling yourself that your worth is not dependent on someone else's validation. You are telling the world that your peace is more important than a reaction. And here's the magic: staying quiet does not mean nothing happens. Your silence sends a message louder than words ever could. It says, I will not stoop to your level. I will not let your words control me. I am bigger than this moment. It creates a pause that forces reflection. It creates a distance that protects your energy. And it teaches everyone around you that your boundaries are not negotiable. Staying quiet doesn't mean never addressing disrespect. It doesn't mean bottling it up or letting toxic patterns continue indefinitely. But it does mean choosing your moments, choosing your words, choosing your response with intention rather than reacting in the heat of emotion. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Silence after disrespect is a form of self-respect. It's a declaration that your energy, your peace, and your dignity are worth more than a momentary exchange of hurt. It's the first step toward responding with clarity, strength, and purpose rather than with chaos. And in that quiet, you reclaim yourself, your power, and your ability to control your story. Because the moment you stop reacting to disrespect, you stop letting the world define your value, and you finally start defining it for yourself. Many people confuse silence with weakness, especially when they are disrespected. From a young age, society often teaches us that standing up immediately, defending ourselves, or retaliating is the mark of strength. The belief is that if you don't speak out, people will walk over you, assume you're powerless, or dismiss your value. But silence after disrespect is not weakness. It is power. It is a conscious choice that allows you to take back control over your emotions, your energy, and the narrative of the situation. When someone disrespects you, the initial reaction is usually emotional. Anger, frustration, and hurt bubble up instantly, urging you to respond in the moment. Reacting immediately may feel satisfying temporarily because it releases the emotional tension, but it often comes at a cost. In the heat of the moment, words can be sharp, misunderstood, or regrettable. The person who disrespected you might not even be listening. They might be seeking a reaction. When you respond impulsively, you hand them the very control they were attempting to take. Your energy becomes dictated by their actions, and suddenly, your sense of power is no longer yours. It belongs to them. Silence, in contrast, allows you to reclaim that power. Choosing to stay quiet does not mean you are ignoring the disrespect or tolerating it indefinitely. Instead, it gives you the space to step out of the immediate emotional reaction and observe the situation with clarity. It gives you a chance to decide how you want to handle it, rather than being controlled by the need to prove a point or defend yourself in the moment. Every second you hold back, you maintain control over your energy and your response. You are no longer reacting. You are responding strategically. This choice also protects your dignity. When you speak in anger or frustration, the focus often shifts from the original disrespect to the emotional exchange itself. Others may notice the conflict more than the disrespect that caused it. Silence preserves your composure and prevents the situation from spiraling further. It allows you to remain calm and centered, which is inherently intimidating to anyone trying to undermine or disrespect you. Quiet strength is often more powerful than loud arguments because it signals self-control, emotional intelligence, and inner confidence. Silence forces reflection, both for you and for the other person. For yourself, it provides the clarity needed to evaluate whether the disrespect was intentional, situational, or worth addressing. For the other person, your quiet response creates a pause that can make them reconsider their actions or the impact of their words. It communicates that you are not easily rattled, that your energy and peace are not negotiable, and that your reactions are deliberate rather than impulsive. Staying quiet after disrespect is an act of reclaiming your power. It is choosing to protect your energy, maintain your dignity, and respond from a position of strength rather than emotion. In that silence lies control, confidence, and the ability to decide how, when, and if the situation deserves your attention. When someone disrespects you, your natural instinct is often to react immediately. It's human to feel hurt, angry, or defensive in that moment. But Keynote 2 emphasizes that responding emotionally rarely serves you. It usually escalates conflict instead. Reacting impulsively gives power to the other person and can turn a momentary offense into a prolonged argument, creating more tension, more misunderstanding, and more stress than the original disrespect caused. Understanding this dynamic is key to reclaiming your control and maintaining your composure. Emotions are powerful, but they are also temporary. In the heat of a disrespectful exchange, anger can make your words sharper, frustration can make your tone harsher, and hurt can make your reactions unpredictable. When you respond under the influence of strong emotions, your goal often shifts from protecting your dignity to releasing your feelings. You speak to vent rather than to resolve, and when you vent, you are handing the narrative of the situation over to the person who disrespected you. Your focus is no longer on what is productive or strategic. It's on immediate gratification, which rarely solves anything. Immediate reactions also distort perception. When emotions run high, you are more likely to misinterpret the situation, exaggerate the offense in your own mind, or assume intentions that may not even exist. You might respond in a way that misrepresents the reality of the situation, which can escalate tensions further. In many cases, what begins as a small, correctable moment of disrespect can turn into a full-blown conflict because both parties are responding emotionally rather than thinking strategically. By choosing not to react immediately, you give yourself time to assess the situation clearly, separate facts from assumptions, and decide whether and how a response is necessary. Escalation also impacts your energy. Reacting emotionally drains mental and emotional resources that could be better used elsewhere. You expend energy on arguments that may not even be worth having, lose focus on your priorities, and allow someone else's behavior to dictate your mood and productivity. Every reaction fuels their influence over you, which means the disrespect has already gained a hold on your state of mind. Silence, by contrast, preserves your energy and keeps your emotional state independent of someone else's behavior. Choosing quiet does not mean you condone disrespect or that you are weak. Instead, it's a strategic decision to avoid unnecessary conflict while maintaining control. It creates space for perspective, reflection, and clarity. You can respond later if needed in a measured and effective way, or choose not to respond at all, preserving your peace and dignity. By stepping back, you demonstrate self-control, emotional intelligence, and resilience, qualities that are far more powerful than any immediate reaction. Avoiding emotional reactions prevents unnecessary escalation, preserves your energy, and protects your dignity. It allows you to step out of the chaos and respond from a place of clarity, ensuring that your actions reflect strategy, not impulse. This approach transforms disrespect from a moment of weakness into an opportunity to demonstrate strength and self-mastery. When we are disrespected, our first impulse is to respond immediately, to defend ourselves, to make our point, or to demand recognition for our worth. Keynote: 3 highlights that staying quiet in those moments is a strategic choice. It is not avoidance, weakness, or passivity. It is a conscious decision to prioritize control, dignity, and clarity over emotional reaction. When you respond impulsively, you allow the person who disrespected you to dictate the interaction and influence your emotions. Remaining silent instead removes that power from them and keeps the narrative in your hands. Immediate reactions are driven by emotion, not strategy. Anger, frustration, or hurt can make words sharper, actions more aggressive, or statements less thoughtful. In the heat of the moment, your response may escalate the situation rather than resolve it. You may say things you regret, create conflict that wasn't necessary, or allow the other person's disrespect to dominate your behavior. Silence, in contrast, allows you to step back and assess the situation with a clear mind. It gives you the ability to choose whether, when, and how to respond, ensuring that your actions are deliberate rather than impulsive. Staying quiet after disrespect also protects your energy. Every emotional reaction consumes mental and emotional resources. When you react immediately, part of your energy goes into managing the conflict, defending yourself, and justifying your perspective, often leaving you drained. Silence preserves your energy, allowing you to remain centered, focused, and composed. It gives you the ability to approach the situation from a place of calm strength rather than reactive chaos. By choosing to pause, you maintain your internal balance and avoid letting someone else's behavior control your emotional state. Silence communicates power in ways words often cannot. When you refrain from reacting impulsively, you demonstrate self-control, emotional intelligence, and confidence. People notice when someone does not engage in unnecessary arguments, when someone does not allow disrespect to provoke them. It signals that your dignity and peace are not negotiable, and that your reactions are measured, intentional, and thoughtful. Often, your quiet response leaves a stronger impression than any verbal retort could. It shows that your value does not need constant validation or defense. Silence allows perspective and reflection. By pausing, you can consider the context, the intent, and the appropriate level of response. Sometimes, the disrespect may be unintentional, and a measured approach is far more effective than a reactive one. Other times, the person may not deserve a response at all. Quietness gives you the space to decide the best course of action rather than being driven by immediate emotion. Choosing silence after disrespect is a conscious, strategic act. It is a way of maintaining control, preserving your energy, and protecting your dignity. It allows you to respond with intention rather than reaction, demonstrating strength and self-respect. By mastering this pause, you reclaim your power and show that your peace and composure are far more important than any momentary argument. Silence becomes a tool of strength, not weakness, shaping the narrative on your terms rather than theirs. When someone disrespects you, the urge to respond immediately is natural. You want to defend yourself, correct the behavior, or assert your worth. But Keynote 4 teaches that quietness is a strategic tool, a way to protect your peace and energy rather than letting a disrespectful moment control your life. Staying silent does not mean you are passive or weak. It means you are choosing control, dignity, and emotional intelligence over impulsive reaction. recognizing that not every situation requires a response and that not every person deserves one. Reacting immediately often escalates conflict rather than resolving it. When you respond from anger, hurt, or frustration, your words are more likely to be harsh, defensive, or miscommunicated. You may inadvertently say things that escalate the situation, create tension, or shift the focus away from the original disrespect to a heated exchange. Silence, in contrast, allows you to pause and regain control over the situation. It provides space to observe, process, and decide whether a response is necessary, and if so, how to respond with intention rather than emotion. Choosing quiet also protects your energy. Every emotional reaction drains mental and emotional resources, diverting attention away from your goals and well-being. When you react impulsively, part of your energy goes into defending yourself or managing the conflict, often leaving you depleted and frustrated. By staying silent, you preserve your energy, maintain your composure, and remain grounded. You no longer allow someone else's disrespect to dictate your emotional state, giving you the freedom to focus on what truly matters. Silence communicates strength in ways words cannot. When you refrain from reacting, you demonstrate self-control, confidence, and resilience. Your quietness signals that your dignity and peace are non-negotiable and that your response is deliberate, not reactive. Often, your silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. It creates a pause that forces the other person to reflect on their behavior and subtly establishes boundaries without confrontation. People notice when someone maintains composure instead of engaging in unnecessary disputes, and that presence of calm confidence commands respect. Staying quiet allows for reflection and perspective. When you take time to pause, you can consider the intent behind the disrespect, the context, and the appropriate level of response. Some situations may not require a response at all, while others might call for a measured conversation later. Silence provides the clarity to make that choice thoughtfully, rather than acting on impulse. Quietness after disrespect is an act of self-respect. It protects your energy, maintains your dignity, and preserves your emotional balance. By choosing silence, you reclaim control over your response, demonstrate inner strength, and set boundaries without escalating conflict. It allows you to live by intention rather than reaction, showing that your peace and composure are more important than momentary validation or confrontation. Silence, in this way, becomes a powerful tool, a way to navigate disrespect with grace, strength, and confidence. When we are disrespected, we feel an immediate need to respond, to defend our character, assert our boundaries, or demand acknowledgement. Keynote 5 emphasizes that silence is not just a pause, it is a statement of strength. Choosing not to react impulsively communicates more than words ever could. It demonstrates that your value, dignity, and peace are not dependent on anyone else's approval, recognition, or behavior. The people who rely on your reactions, anger, or attempts to prove yourself are the ones whose expectations you do not need to fulfill. Responding to disrespect immediately often gives others power over you. When someone disrespects you, your instinct may be to prove that you are right, that they are wrong, or that you deserve better treatment. While this reaction feels natural, it shifts control from you to them. You become entangled in their narrative, reacting to their behavior instead of acting from your own clarity. Silence breaks that cycle. By choosing quiet, you remove the opportunity for them to dictate your energy, mood, or behavior. It is a deliberate act of reclaiming control, showing that their disrespect does not define you or influence your peace. This approach also sets boundaries without confrontation. When you refrain from immediate retaliation, you make it clear that your reactions are intentional. You are not drawn into every provocation. You decide when and how to engage. This communicates strength and self-respect without needing to escalate conflict. People notice when someone maintains composure in the face of disrespect. It signals that their behavior has limits and that your peace is not negotiable. In many cases, silence forces reflection on the part of the other person as they are confronted with a calm, controlled response rather than the reaction they anticipated. Choosing quiet also protects your energy. Reacting in the moment drains emotional and mental resources, keeping you tied to the conflict and the negative energy of someone else's actions. Silence allows you to preserve that energy, maintain focus on your goals, and respond when it is most productive rather than reacting out of impulse. By not engaging in the heat of the moment, you remain grounded and centered, making it easier to approach the situation from a place of wisdom and strategy. Silence after disrespect teaches a subtle but powerful lesson. Your worth and self-respect are internal, not contingent on the recognition or validation of others. The people who try to provoke a reaction often rely on the old version of you, the version who responded to every slight, explained herself, or sought approval. By staying quiet, you break that pattern, showing that you are no longer controlled by external forces. Silence is a choice that demonstrates power, clarity, and self-respect. It allows you to preserve your energy, protect your dignity, and maintain control over your narrative. Those who truly respect you will understand your boundaries, and those who relied on your reaction will learn that your peace is not negotiable. In this way, quietness becomes not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength that shapes your life and your relationships with intentionality and power. When someone disrespects you, it's natural to want to respond, to defend yourself, clarify your position, or make the other person understand the impact of their words. Keynote 6 emphasizes that responding with intention rather than impulse is the cornerstone of strength and self-respect. Silence after disrespect is not about avoiding confrontation or suppressing emotion. It is about choosing the right moment, the right words, and the right approach to ensure your response serves you rather than the other person. Responding impulsively often satisfies a temporary emotional urge, but rarely leads to meaningful resolution. Emotions in the moment, anger, hurt, or frustration, are powerful and persuasive, but they are often short-lived. Reacting from this state can lead to responses that are regretted later. Words spoken impulsively may escalate the conflict, create misunderstandings, or even damage relationships beyond repair. By choosing silence, you create a buffer between emotion and action, giving yourself time to process the situation. This pause allows you to evaluate whether a response is necessary, what your goals are, and how you can communicate effectively without compromising your dignity or energy. Responding with intention also protects your peace. When you engage impulsively, you give control of your emotional state to someone else. The disrespectful behavior triggers a reaction, and suddenly your focus, energy, and mood are dictated by another person. By pausing and choosing how to respond, you maintain ownership of your emotions. You remain centered and composed, demonstrating that your sense of self is not dependent on someone else's behavior. This control is a form of power because it shows that you are the one shaping your actions and the narrative of the interaction. Intentional response also demonstrates maturity and self-respect. People often underestimate the strength it takes to hold back, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. Silence does not signal passivity, it signals mastery over yourself. It shows that you value your peace and your dignity more than the need for immediate validation or revenge. When you eventually choose to speak, your words carry weight. They are measured, deliberate, and impactful. They are less about reacting and more about expressing your truth clearly and effectively. Waiting to respond allows for perspective. In the calm after an initial disrespectful moment, you can consider the context, the person's intent, and the potential consequences of your words. Some situations may resolve themselves without your intervention. Others may require a carefully constructed conversation to set boundaries or communicate feelings. Silence gives you the power to choose which battles are worth engaging in and which are better left alone, preserving your energy and focus for what truly matters. Responding with intention rather than impulse transforms disrespect into an opportunity for empowerment. It allows you to maintain control, protect your energy, and act from a place of clarity and purpose. By mastering the pause, you demonstrate that your peace, dignity, and self-respect are non-negotiable, and that your actions are guided by wisdom, not emotion. This deliberate approach ensures that when you do respond, it strengthens your presence, reinforces your boundaries, and commands respect in a way that impulsive reactions never could. Disrespect is a part of life. People will test your boundaries, say things that hurt, and act in ways that challenge your patience. Your instinct may be to respond immediately, to defend yourself, or to make them understand, but the truth is, not every disrespectful moment deserves your reaction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay quiet. Silence is not weakness. It is strength. It is control. It is self-respect. When you stay quiet after being disrespected, you protect your energy, your peace, and your dignity. You take back the power that someone else tried to steal from you. You show the world, and yourself, that your worth is not determined by someone else's behavior, and that your reactions are intentional, not impulsive. Silence becomes a tool of clarity, strategy, and quiet confidence. Remember, staying quiet doesn't mean doing nothing. It means choosing how and when to respond. It means valuing your peace over proving a point, your energy over someone else's expectations, and your dignity over momentary satisfaction. The right words, spoken at the right time, carry far more weight than an immediate reaction ever could. Your life is too valuable to waste on reactive chaos. By mastering the art of quiet after disrespect, you reclaim control, protect your energy, and assert your boundaries without compromise. This is how you show true strength. This is how you live with power. This is how you rise above. And nothing can shake someone who knows how to stay quiet in the face of disrespect.